Call this meeting to order. Always a pleasure to see you, council members, members of the staff, members of the public. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Always a pleasure to see you, and we appreciate your input. All right, going to call this meeting to order of the LPA. Call the roll, please, Russell.
Board Member Jablonski?
Here.
Board Member Fisickelli? Board Member Fisickelli?
Here.
Board Member Brightcrus? Vice Chair McKay? And Chair Nelson.
Here, we stand for the pledge, please. Okay. Initially, we had an item scheduled on the local planning agency, which is us, and that was a new land use category for US 27. Vice Mayor McKay had some cataract surgery today and wasn't feeling that well. We felt this was an important item, and he had asked that it be postponed or tabled to a future date, and obviously we don't have any problems with that. So council, if it's okay with you, we'd like to table this resolution to a time certain of August 25th at 7 o'clock p.m.
Make a motion to table it till August 25th.
Second.
PM.
Okay, got a motion and a second?
Yes, we have
Call the question, please, Russell?
to. Mayor, may I
Sure.
first read the item
I'm sorry.
for the record? That's okay. This is a resolution of the local planning agency of the town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, recommending that the town council amend the text of the future land use element of the town of Southwest Ranches comprehensive plan, establishing a new land use category entitled U.S. Highway 27 Business with supporting objectives and policies, revising the list of permitted uses within non-residential land use designations, and supporting objectives and policies, making revisions of a housekeeping nature, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Russell. Again, this has been tabled to time certain date of August 25th at 7 o'clock p.m. Again, we have a motion and a second to approve the item be tabled to that date. Call a roll, please, Russell.
Board Member Jablonski?
Yes.
Board Member Fisickelli?
Yes.
Board Member Brightcrus?
Yes.
And Chair Nelson.
Yes. Okay, that concludes our LPA meeting. I'll take a motion to adjourn. We'll transition on a regular meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
And I'm sure that that is unanimous. The LPA meeting is hereby adjourned, and we'll transition into the regular council meeting. Would you please call the roll, Russell?
Councilmember Jablonski?
Here.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Here.
Councilmember Brightcrus?
Here.
Vice Mayor McKay? Mayor Nelson.
Here, we all stand for the pledge, please. Okay, and we do have a quasi judicial item, but before we do that, I would entertain a motion to excuse, again, Vice Mayor McKay, who had cataract surgery today and just wasn't up to it. We obviously miss him and wish him well and expect him to be back in a very short period of time.
Mayor, I make a motion to excuse Vice Mayor McKay.
Second.
Thank you very much. A motion is second to excuse. Russell, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Brightcrus?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. Okay, first item is a quasi judicial item, and I'll turn it over to you, Keith, for deliberation.
Sure. The following item on the town's agenda is quasi-judicial in nature. As the council is aware, the public is aware, Florida courts have ruled that certain items you're serving as a jury and not in a policy-making capacity. And in those cases, you have to make a determination whether or not the applicant has proven by competent substantial evidence that the town's code requirements have been met. I will ask Russell to read in the sole quasi-judicial item that's going to be left on the agenda and then swear in the witnesses, and we'll go from there.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving the Rolling Oaks Estate Site Plan, application number SP-60-15 for 18 single-family detached dwelling units on approximately 37.95 acres, legally described as the Klingons Cove Plat, as recorded in Plat Book 168, page 49 of the Public Records of Broward County, Florida. Generally located on the west side of Southwest 178th Avenue at Southwest 58th Street. Authorizing the mayor, town administrator, and town attorney to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Any member of the public and the applicant who wishes to speak on this item, if you could please stand at this time and raise your right hand for Russell to swear you in.
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. Before I call on Jeff Kadams to present the staff report and call up the applicant, I'd like the council to make its Jennings disclosures. Has any member of the town council had any ex parte communications concerning this matter? If so, please disclose at this time.
Yes, we discussed this at the Rolling Oaks HOA amongst the residents and the board of directors.
I have had no conversation, Keith.
I was at the Rolling Oaks HOA, but
Freddie, any disclosure? Were you at that meeting?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. I know the applicant is present. Barbara, you're representing the applicant on this one. If you could please come to the podium, just state your name for the record, that you've been sworn in, you know why you're here. Turn it over to Jeff, then I'll turn it over to you all for your presentation.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Barbara Hall. I'm an attorney with Greenberg Trorick. I've been sworn in, and I understand your rules, and I turn it over to Jeff.
Jeff Kadams, could you please present the staff report for the record?
Thank you. I'm going to enter the staff report into the record and summarize it as a renewal of a previously approved site plan that was actually approved in 2006, right before the Great Recession. The Great Recession really did this one in. There's a new developer seeking to obtain reapproval of the same site plan. This is the same lot configuration. Everything's the same except for some common mailboxes due to changes in postal service regulations. The berm and landscaping along 178th are the same. There'll be 145 oak trees planted along the internal street. And this is a publicly accessible street that cannot be gated. The town attorney has reviewed and approved the latest homeowners association documents crafted for this developer, and the recommendation is in the record, noting that should the council choose to approve this item, in addition to the standard engineering comments for bonding and inspection of improvements, we would note that we are asking the applicant to relocate the common mailboxes further into the community. The applicant has agreed to that. As proposed, it's too close to the entrance and might be visible as well from 178th. Additionally, there is a condition of the previous site plan approval, Resolution 2007-67, which dealt with mitigation, financial mitigation of the current berm configuration, which was built higher than was approved and obtained after the fact approval. Other than those, I have nothing to add, and that concludes my presentation.
Thanks, Mr. Kadams. Any member of the town council have any questions of staff at this time? Seeing none, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Hall for her presentation. And Tony, I don't know if you're speaking as well, but if so, just state your name for the record.
Good evening. Very brief presentation. This site plan is consistent with the approved and recorded plat of Klingons Cove. In regard to the conditions that Mr. Kadams addressed, we agree with the recommendation to relocate the mailboxes. And in regard to the mitigation that the resolution requires, the payment of $14,000, we agreed to that. And in fact, the applicant has a check for that here this evening. The engineer is here if you have any questions. And with that, we conclude our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hall. Does any members of the town council have any questions of the applicant at this time? Councilmember Brightcrus?
Just a real quick one. The street that's going through the center of this is, what's the name of that street?
Does it have a name?
I only ask because all the roads in Rolling Oaks actually have names as opposed to numbers, and so it might be good to come up with a name that's agreeable with the neighbors out
Okay.
there.
Sure. The address plan called it Rolling Oaks Estates Drive, but I'm sure if that's problematic for some reason, we'd be open to another name.
Thanks.
Okay.
Any other members of the town council have any questions at this time for the applicant? Seeing none, I will turn it over to the public. Any member of the public who wishes to speak of this item, please come to the podium, state your name, address, that you've been sworn in, and Russell will start the timer.
Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue, I have been sworn. On the map that was in the backup, by the stone decorative area right there at the front, there's a structure that is just to the north of it. And I was curious what that was. It wasn't labeled. And that's just the one thing. What is that structure? Number two, the homeowners association documents are different than the original set. Is that true? Well, you have one person who owns a piece of property in there, lot number 10, according to the documents. It is my understanding that unless all have agreed to the documents and that person accepts those documents, you cannot bind that person to a new set. So you're going to, what I'd like to know is, one, is that property owner in writing agreed to the new homeowners documents? And if not, is that person going to be a homeowners association of one of the old homeowners documents? And since it's under a single plat, I don't think you can do that. So you don't have homeowners documents, from what I understand, unless Florida law has changed. It's because you do not have 100% acceptance. That is one question. The other question is as to the drainage. It is my understanding, looking at or reading the maps there's a canal to the north and a canal to the south that butt up to that property. If those canals are in need of repair, I think this developer should be the one to do the repairs and not the town, because they'll be increasing the drainage on that. That is my,
Thank you.
that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Hartman? No. We're going to finish public comment.
Bob Hartman, 5441 Southwest 190th Terrace, and I've been sworn in as well. I had a similar question as Newell, so I'll look forward to the answer on the canals. And as well, I know when we developed our little subdivision, the post office required us to have a box like these folks are proposing. But then when we reached a certain percentage of development, they made us to switch to individual boxes. So is this a temporary?
No.
Is it bound by postal code on what they have? So those are the questions. Thank you.
Any other member of the public wish to speak on this item? Please.
David Kaczynski, 6411 Holly T Trail. My only concern has to do with the town's character, rural in nature. Is there any restrictions on any of the residents owning farm animals, pigs, chickens, housing horses, and whether adequate spaces there for horse trails? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak at this time? Come forward. Russell will, thank you. Kathy, Russell will swear you in.
Good evening, Kathy.
How are you?
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
It is. My concern was, I wasn't aware that they were going to have their own separate HOA. I don't know if I can ask a question, but that was kind of what it sounded like. And so that's my concern. We have a very active HOA out there, and we were led to believe, I believe that it was just more houses going on. So I was just concerned about a separate HOA inside of a HOA development.
Any other members of the public wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, public session closed. I'll actually ask the applicant to come up, Ms. Hall, first to address the 5 questions that came up. And just to refresh your memory, they came in the way of the homeowners association documents, the structure, the drainage, the postal code, animals, and then the HOA in general.
Okay. This, the HOA documents that are to be put of record for this project, we actually involved the owner of Lot 10. She came to our meeting, reviewed the documents, and voted on them. And she very much wants to be part of this HOA, and we've included her. So, there is no problem in that regard. There are no restrictions on animals in these HOA documents.
Ms. Hall, can you explain just for the public the reason why you're creating an HOA, just so
Sure.
Rolling Oaks understands why you have to do this?
Yes, because the aspects of the project that are common, especially the drainage facilities, require the creation of a homeowners association to be responsible for maintaining and operating the drainage system. The water management districts require a single operational entity for a drainage system that gets permitted for a number of homes. So we created a private association to address that.
And Ms. Hall, just so the residents know the answer, there's a roadway that goes through the project
Correct.
that Councilmember Brighters brought up. The HOA is also responsible for the full
That's
maintenance of that
correct.
road. And just for the public's edification, that means that if that roadway is in disrepair, Rolling Oaks doesn't have to replace it, nor does the town of Southwest Ranches. All the residents who live on that roadway have to pay their portion of the roadway repair.
That's correct. And that obligation and assessment is reflected in the documents.
Could you please address the structure that Mr. Hollingsworth
I'm going
brought
to
up?
ask the engineer, Tony Cavedo.
Tony, if you could please state your name for the record and that you've been sworn in.
Sure. Antonio Cavedo, I'm the engineer of record, and I have been sworn in. As far as the structure, I believe, and he's welcome to come back up, I think it's the mail kiosk, the central mail kiosk that we were talking about that's shown on the site plan, but we've already agreed to move back further from the entrance. Like I said, he's welcome to come and show me what he's talking about, but that's the only structure I see at the north side of the entrance that it could be.
Mr. Cavedo, a question was asked and I jumped in, but when the project is built out, can you have individual mailboxes or is that a requirement in the postal code now?
We were asked as part of the site plan approval process to have a centralized mail kiosk, and I don't believe, it wasn't asked to be a temporary situation, it was asked to be permanent.
From the United States
Yes.
Postal Department, correct? Okay, there was a question asked about drainage, whether or not improvements to the canal need to be made. Will you be making those?
And we will. Just like the site plan, we actually originally got approval from South Broward Drainage District on this project and had a permit. It obviously expired, so we're gonna be renewing it. But part of that, in addition to the interconnect, the canal that we're creating, or we've already created from north to south, we will be dredging out the north and south canal that we're tying into. In fact, part of the approved plans that you have now, we're coordinated with South Broward, and they've actually basically say that we are dredging to the top, to the existing cap rock out there. So we will be regrading the existing in addition to creating the interconnect from north to south that South Broward required.
Does any members of the town council have any questions of the applicant? Please.
Yeah, I have a couple, thank you. Jeff mentioned it earlier, but I'd like to get it on the record from you folks. This street all the residents will have access to that main street, horses, bicycle, pedestrian,
Correct.
you name it.
You name it, correct.
There's no restrictions
No
on
restriction.
anything going on there. And does anybody know exactly how far back the common mailbox is? Is it right behind the wall? Is it 10 feet behind the wall? Is it 100 feet behind the wall?
Yeah, right now it's just behind the existing decorative, entrance feature, so it's on lot 1.
How deep is that?
That's probably
I mean the mailbox, how deep off, is it?
Yeah, it would be about, I would say 25 feet approximately from the right-of-way line. So, we can obviously coordinate with Jeff's office and staff and move it somewhere in the middle of the site, or maybe back towards the cul-de-sac. We don't really have a preference. I mean, we agreed to move it wherever the town would like it.
Any other members of the town council have any questions at this time? Jeff, do you have any concluding comments?
No further comments.
Does the applicant have anything else to say about this matter?
No, we don't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, Mayor and council, the applicant's case has completed. The testimony has been submitted to the record, turned over to you, Mayor, for full deliberation to determine whether or not the applicant has proven by competent substantial evidence that they've complied with code requirements. Of course, the applicant has stipulated to certain conditions that will be finalized if this should be approved in a resolution, as well as the addressing the 5 items that came up during the questions from the members of the public.
Thank you, Keith. Council, entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve with the stipulations.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve with the conditions. I wrote them all down, Newell, and I think that they were the structure out front, lot 10 status, the drainage, owning. That was addressed, absolutely. That was all addressed. Yes, owning farm animals and the separate HOA scenario. Yeah, we voted on, okay. So again, we have a motion and a second to approve with the conditions. Russell, call the question, please.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Bright Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. Okay, that concludes our only quasi-judicial hearing. Congratulations, look forward to working with you. Always a pleasure to see you.
Mayor, may I interrupt?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Gary.
I'd like to make a motion that we make an agenda change, that we move item 13 up to right after item 8, if that's possible.
I'll second.
Motion is second to move item 13 after administration comments, which is item 8. Any members of the public have any issues with this? I suspect not. Okay, and again, we have a motion and a second to move item number 13 again to immediately follow administration comments, item number 8. Call the question, please, Russell.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Bright Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. Item number 4.
Public
Public comment.
Mayor, so far we've only have 2 speakers. Does anyone else wish to speak during public comment tonight? If so, we need your cards now. Seeing none, we only have 2 speakers tonight, Mayor. First speaker is Dee Schroeder. Second one is Mike Hanley. Then public comment has been completed. Dee?
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Town Administrator, Mr. Polikoff, and staff. I'm going to read some of this because I have anxiety really bad. I know you all find that hard to believe, but it's true. I would like to take a few minutes to speak to the residents, so I hope you indulge me and let me turn my back to you for a few minutes. I stand before you to ask for your support in the upcoming election for the position of Council, District 4. This seat was occupied by Doug McKay, who is now our mayor-elect. Congratulations, Doug. I'm honored to be running, and if elected, to serve all of you in the best of my ability. I feel I have always been a team player, whether it was to fight for our kids or stop cut-through traffic. I've sat on several boards, working with the town, picking up garbage, planting trees, or just a birthday celebration. For 30-some years, I have lived in what's known to many people as the great town of Southwest Ranches. From before its conception to today, as I stand here before you, I am proud to have the privilege of raising 2 wonderful girls in the town that it has provided for my family and myself, good and solid and a safe place to live. They have roots. They have a place that they can call home now. I hope to have all of your support. This town has made my family proud, and I want the opportunity to make our town proud of me. If you have any questions, concerns, or would just like to talk, please feel free to call me on my cell, which is 305-986-8007. Again, I hope to get all of your support. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Final speaker, Mike Hanley.
Good evening, gentlemen. Mike Hanley, 50th Place. On my way in yesterday and today, I noticed that there is a crew filling in a drainage ditch behind all the homes facing 50th Place on the north side of the road, west of 205 Avenue. I asked who's responsible for doing this. I did not get a reply that was understandable to me. I don't know if it was South Broward Drainage District, Southwest Ranches, who's doing it and why they're filling in that drainage ditch. It runs all the way from the western boundary to the canal that runs on the eastern side of my house, which is on the edge of 205 Avenue, east of, on 50th Place, east of 205. There is also, that ditch also runs all the way out to the canal on the eastern side of 205 Avenue, parallel to 50th Place. I don't know who's doing it or why, but they're filling in the drainage ditch. And along that same line, we were never able to get that ditch on the western side of the gate filled in. It is a big cesspool full of stagnant water with no drainage access anywhere. And with this Zika problem that we're having with mosquitoes, that is a giant problem as far as I'm concerned. There are probably 10 to 12 children that live within 200 to 300 yards of that pit. The drainage district did not fill it in because the homeowner in that corner lot did not want anybody to break her sprinklers when they came on her property to fill in that travesty of drainage ditch. Now it is not draining anywhere because you filled in all the land on the eastern side of the gate. I petition this council to look into it. I don't know who's responsible, and see if we can get that cesspool filled and get the mosquito problem out of our hair. It's a nightmare, and you go walking past there in the evening, which I do frequently, and you're virtually attacked by winged monsters, and they're not tiny little mosquitoes, they're humongous. Come on out and try it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I'd certainly like to see that travesty rectified and that drainage ditch filled. They're doing it north of the gate on that drainage ditch that runs parallel to 50th Place. I don't know who's doing it, but they're doing it. Can we get this other problem rectified? Thank you.
Okay, that concludes public comment. Item number 5, board reports. Any members of any of our boards have any interesting, exciting, and new information? Seeing none, that concludes item number 5. Item number 6, council member comments. Freddie?
None.
No comments?
I'm good.
Good. Steve?
Just I want to respond to Mike Hanley's comment. Mike, I would appreciate it. Maybe we can talk afterwards. I just want to know exactly where that, I know you described it, but maybe we can take a look at the map. I want to be sure I know where it is exactly we're talking about, that the drainage ditch is and where they're filling it in. So I'll be happy to follow up on that for you. Okay, thank you. Just one other comment that I think probably everybody that's in this room is aware of the new charter school that's opening up out west. You know, there's nothing we can do really to stop that from happening, although it's going to create a traffic nightmare out west. But I do want to just reassure the public that we are doing everything we can to make sure that everything is done according to how it should be done, to try and minimize the impact, if that can possibly be done, which I'm not sure it can. But we're doing what we can. We're certainly monitoring it, and we are doing what we can to try and minimize it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And I have no comments, so that concludes item number 6. Item number 7, legal comments. Keith?
Real briefly, Mayor, just to keep the council up to date, that your administrative staff and myself have been diligently working with the town of Davie and trying to secure an extension on the fire agreement. We have gone back and forth with drafts and will continue to do so, and hope to have a report to you in the upcoming weeks to advise you where we're at financially and otherwise on that contract.
Thank you, Keith. And I see that we have, and you're probably going to touch on this real quickly, this walk-on item is a direct result of that, Keith?
That's correct.
That if that you all didn't reach an agreement by May 30th, 2016, extend it to, where is that? August, Curtis Brother, that's in the period.
November 1st.
November 1st. Thank you, Keith. And that's a walk-on item that we'll bring up as the last item. All right, that concludes legal comments. Item number 8, administration comments. Andy?
Yeah, Mayor, I just have a couple of things. You recall at the last meeting, you all had a discussion and revised the town rental policy for the barn and other town facilities. Coming out of that, there was a discussion on credit cards and our policy on accepting those credit cards and charging a surcharge. We have completed the research, as I had mentioned to you last time. The state statute does allow us to do that. So I'm just, unless the council has an objection, I'd like to reinstate the current 2.75 surcharge on the credit cards, which is our actual cost. It's consistent with our cost recovery philosophy on other items as well. So unless council has an objection, I'm requesting that we can reinstitute that just to recover our costs.
I have no problem.
I mean, I actually, I did read it. It was, I think it was forwarded to all of us and read through it, and looks like state municipalities have a little extra bonus over normal businesses and such, so.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked when I saw
A little bit by
it.
that too, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's on further research. It's all perfectly legitimate.
Right, yeah, so.
Well, thank you all for that. And once again, it's only designed to be cost recovery. Certainly not going to be a profit center, and that surcharge will reflect what our current costs are. The other item I wanted to touch on with you all is the old fire engine, Engine 82, which has been on the market, as you know. There was some conversation a year or so ago of what that engine might be worth, and we were hoping that we would maybe be able to get as much as potentially $60,000 for that truck. We're now a year and a half later. The truck had remained in service for a long period of time. It's continued to depreciate. It remains on the Brindle Mountain website, which if you've never been to, if you're ever looking for a fire truck, there are literally hundreds of them to go through to go find. So Chief Bennett has been working with a prospective buyer out of Kansas who was here yesterday. The price on the website has been reduced. It's down to $40,000, trying to get some attention and get us to move that truck. So obviously it doesn't do us any good, continuing to own it and maintain it. As I said, we've continued to use it. We've had the additional depreciation on it. We currently have an offer from this company, these people in Kansas, for $32,500. Now we have, as a backup plan, we were working towards putting the fire truck into an auction that's going to be held by the town of Davie for some surplus items, and we have some things around town that we want to move through that auction. We had reached out to the auction company and talked to them about potentially trying to move the fire truck through the auction process, and we had established probably a reserve price of about $35,000. I don't know if we go ahead with that auction, if we will get attention or not. We want to put a minimum on it. We don't want to let it go for certainly nothing. So because we want to do that, we need to establish some sort of reserve. And so we did that really based on the current price online. As I said, we have an offer of $32,500 that was conveyed to Chief Bennett. They have their approvals in place, and I just wanted to get council consensus if you know, we should look to try to get more money for that fire truck, or I'll say take the money and run and go with the deal at hand.
You first.
I to go first, but I think
Yeah,
we're all.
yeah, I think we're all, I think the consensus is gonna be, especially after a year and a half and finally getting a solid offer and not rolling the dice. I certainly don't have any issues or problems negotiating.
I'll sneak in with the bird in the hand.
Okay, I thank you for that, and we will, Lee, you heard it, let's convey that offer, or that response back, and let's get that deal closed. And Keith, obviously, we'll need your help in either putting together or reviewing an agreement. Okay? Thank you, Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, Andy. Okay, we've moved item number 13 forward. For the record, would you read the resolution for item number 13, Russell? I'll do it. A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, awarding a neighborhood safety grant in the amount of $750 to the Rolling Oak Civic Association, authorizing the mayor, the town administrator, and town attorney to enter into an agreement and providing for an effective date. Council?
Motion second.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Again, we have a motion and a second to approve. Do we have additional questions or comments? Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say that I am thrilled that Rolling Oaks has taken advantage of this. I think this is just a great opportunity for the town to partner with the residents of our town, and you know, nobody knows better than the residents of our town what needs to be done, what's good use of our funds and all that. And so to be able to partner in this way is fantastic, and I appreciate the fact that Rolling Oaks took the ball and ran with it and made it happen. So thank you all, and I appreciate the support to do it.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on that, for lack of a better way of saying it. The front entrance was really enhanced by the ability to see it now at midnight, and no more illegal U-turns down by the church. You know, when you're westbound, believe it or not, there were many residents that missed the front entrance after it got dark. And I do have to say, the way the lights were put in and the front entrance signs look gorgeous at night with the shadow effect and everything. It was a really good job was done. Building the wall, putting the sign up, you know, everybody shepherding it. I know Kathy Sullivan, our HOA president, is here. I don't know if she wants to get up and say anything. I'm not going to put her on the spot, haha. And but it worked out well. It really worked out well for our community and the town.
Absolutely, Kathy. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. And always a pleasure to see you, too.
Thank you.
And the Sullivan family.
I just wanted to say thank you. When we heard about the grant, we thought that everybody in town would jump on it, and Emily knows we were a little slow with the paperwork, getting it in piece by piece, but it is exciting and kind of silly, but we talked about it at the homeowners meeting the other night. It is exciting to apply for a grant, to get it, to get an improvement, have the town help pay for it. So thank you very much. We are excited.
Great job, Kath. Thank you very much. Again, we have a motion and a second to approve. Seeing no additional question, comments, or concerns. Russell, call the question, please.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Brighters?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, item number 9.
An ordinance of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, amending the text of the future land use element of the Town of Southwest Ranches Comprehensive Plan, establishing a new land use designation entitled U.S. Highway 27 Business, with supporting objectives and policies, revising the list of permitted uses within non-residential land use designations, and supporting objectives and policies, making revisions of a housekeeping nature, providing for transmittal to the state land planning agency, providing for a recertification by the Broward County Planning Council, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Mayor, in accordance with what the council, the board did at the LPA item, we would request that this item be tabled to August 25th at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Keith. Council.
Mayor, I make a motion to table this item till August 25th at 7 p.m.
Second.
Motion and a second to table this item. This was already discussed with the LPA. Call the question, please, Russell.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Brighters?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, item number 10.
This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, setting the proposed millage rate and current rollback rate pursuant to Section 200.065 Florida statutes and establishing the date, time, and place at which public hearings will be held to consider the proposed millage rate and the tentative budget for fiscal year 2017, and directing the town clerk to file said resolution with the property appraiser of Broward County pursuant to the requirements of Florida statutes and the rules and regulations of the Department of Revenue for the state of Florida. Directing that a certified copy of this resolution be sent to the Broward County property appraiser and tax collector and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Russell. Andy, I'll get you started. I know Marty has a presentation.
Yeah, Mayor, if I may just tee it up a little bit. Items 10, 11, and 12 are all consistent with our trim, truth, and millage requirements. It establishes a maximum millage rate, fire assessment fee, and solid waste fee. It's certainly not, staff isn't necessarily prepared to have a discussion on those budget items tonight. We are working very hard to prepare for you appropriately for the workshop on the budget and public hearings 1 and 2, which are upcoming. As I said, tonight just helps us meet our legal requirements to throw out what amounts to certainly the worst-case scenario. Your vote tonight for that is not necessarily an endorsement for those millage rates or those fees. You have absolutely every right going forward to review those and make those changes. This establishes only the maximum. And if it's all right with you, Mayor, I'd like to turn it over to Marty, because Marty has a very brief PowerPoint that he'd like to share with you this evening.
Andy, do you want items 11 and 12 read in at this time as well, if you're going to be speaking
Actually,
on
yeah,
all three?
Keith, yeah, thank you. Let's get if we could, get all 3 items on the table, get motions and seconds, and then Marty can do the presentation, we can have the discussion, and then
vote on
vote
each
individually on those items. Yeah, thank you, Keith.
This is item 11, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving the preliminary fire services assessment relating to the provision of fire protection services, facilities, and programs in the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, providing purpose and definitions, providing for the imposition and computation of fire protection assessments, incorporating the fire protection assessment report, providing for legislative determination of special benefit and fair apportionment, establishing the rate of assessment, directing the preparation of a preliminary assessment roll, providing for a disabled veterans exemption, authorizing a public hearing, and directing the provision of notice thereof, and providing an effective date. Item number 12, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, relating to the provision of solid waste services, facilities, and programs to residential properties in the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, providing authority for solid waste services assessments, providing purpose and definitions, providing findings, incorporating the solid waste special assessment methodology report, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing, and directing the provision of notice thereof, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Russell. Okay. Marty, I turn it over to you for your presentation. All 10, 11, and 12? Okay. Council, if you don't mind, before Marty does his presentation, if you'll give me a motion and a second to approve 10, 11, and 12, so I can open it up to the public for discussion, carte blanche for 10, 11, and 12.
Do we need 3 motions or just one?
I think we can combine them.
I'll make a motion to approve all 3.
Second.
Again, we have a motion to approve items 10, 11, and 12. And again, these items meet our legal requirement, and these establish maximum and does not necessarily set the rates. Motion and a second to approve, and I'll open it up to the public here shortly. Okay? Marty, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Welcome to the audience. And we are entering right now tonight the presentation and the reporting stages of our budget process. Tonight we're going to be discussing 3 components, which was read into the meeting tonight, the agenda. Our proposed total combined operating millage, our initial fire assessment, as well as our initial solid waste assessment. And moving into the calendar events to the audience, I have extra copies of the handout in 3 locations throughout the room. For those of you, I know it's a little difficult to review the PowerPoint. I'll give you the opportunity to come up, grab a copy. I also wanted to thank staff and council. The budget book, if anyone needs to review the proposed budget book, it's available on the website. And we will have this PowerPoint on the website as well tomorrow in accordance with our budget calendar. So thank you to staff, thank you for council, for direction. This is the reporting and discussion stage. Now, with the calendar events we're facing, tonight is our prelim millage and initial fire solid waste assessment adoption. As Town Administrator Burns mentioned, these are just setting our rate maximums. We'll have opportunities in August 23rd, Tuesday, August 23rd at 7 p.m. to discuss it further with our proposed annual budget workshop. Then we move in September to our formal public hearing dates of Wednesday, September 14th at 6 p.m. To discuss the millage and the final fire protection and solid waste. Our final budget becomes advertised between September 24th and September 27th, with our planned second public hearing date of Thursday, September 29th at 6 p.m. for final millage and budget adoption. For a summary, as compared of our proposed rates to our prior year, I'm providing on the left column our adopted fiscal year 2016 rates. Our right column shows our proposed fiscal year 2017 rates. You will notice with the operating millages, there are a very slight increase in millages, not in dollars. Our fire assessment has a proposed $9.11 increase, which represents an approximate 2% per residential dwelling unit increase from fiscal year 2016. And our solid waste are proposed as stable, no change in our solid waste rates. Going specifically within our ad valorem and our property tax, for those who just need a refresh of how your individual tax is computed, market value is what someone would be willing to pay and to purchase your property. However, the assessed valuation is set by the property appraiser's office down in Broward County, and that is an estimate of what your market value will be. Along with the assessed valuations, we subtract individual exemptions that could comprise a multiple gamut of exemptions available, senior, homestead, disability, veterans, and then that ultimately leaves you with your taxable value. You take your taxable value, you times it by the millage rate, what we're proposing tonight, and ultimately that ends up to be your tax levy. A question, of course, would be why is an increase needed in our millage? Well, we're having four main priorities that cause the increase. One is our quality of life, level of service improvements, which is known as our program modifications. We're going to discuss that tonight. We have our capital improvement projects to continue that we'll also discuss. And along with the fact that we have normal inflation, cost of living adjustments comprising, for example, FP&L, insurance. And finally, for this year, we have reduced overall grant funding. Our program modifications that are funded, and that's all comprised within the book in detail that we'll be talking during our workshop phases, within our hearing phases. First priority is our volunteer fire department safety equipment, our SCBA bottle replacement, our SCBA POSI check flow test equipment acquisition, bunker gear replacement, along with staffing adjustments. Further program modifications include building department records digitalization, further quality of life and service improvements include town hall exterior painting, right-of-way increased service levels for all right of ways within the town properties, all throughout the town. Griffin Road West area, primarily west of I-75, irrigation system overhaul. Number 4 item comprising our Sunshine Ranches Equestrian and Country Estates Parks playground surface material replacement. Number 5 being our townwide parks maintenance level service increase. That's townwide throughout. The number 6 is community forestry maintenance level service increase. Moving to our capital improvement projects that are funded, it will include continuance from the previous year of fire wells replacement and installation, as well as new public safety fire rescue modular facilities. Another capital improvement project which we will make progress is in the pros areas, our parks, recreation, and open space area comprising Country Estates Park, Calusa Corners Park, Trailside, going to be known as Founders Park, Sunshine Ranches Equestrian Park, and Rolling Oaks Barn. Further capital improvements that are transportation specific, such as our TISDOR, guardrails, drainage, pavement striping and markers program, and our ongoing townwide entranceway signage. Now, the reminder of that is our TISDOR expenses. Direction given by council was to keep funding separate from our operating millage. With that in mind, I move into the TISDOR component for 16-17. The total cost is detailed on the CIP, represents $495,000. The millage necessary to obtain $495,000 is .4050. The next page gives us our combined millage maximums and related information, and the proposed millage is the combination of the Southwest Ranches rollback rate of 4.1404 plus the TISDOR of .4050 would result in a total combined of 4.5454. It'll result in a net revenue of $5,556,741. Our combined rate impacts, we're going to go into specifically the fire and solid waste after this. Our operating millage, which is proposed, represents the first millage increase for operating purposes in over a decade. The rate proposed equals the town's rollback rate, which is defined as the millage rate which generates the same ad valorem revenue as the prior year. Our TISDOR, the proposed rate at .4050, is a nominal increase from the prior year, TISDOR millage rates. And since these are already included in the rollback rate, the combined proposed millage rate represents a $101 increase per $250,000 of taxable value. Our residential fire rates, the proposed rates will result in no change to commercial and a slight increase to all other property categories while maintaining the town's 100% cost recovery assessment policy. Residential rates would increase by, as previously mentioned, $9.11 per dwelling unit. And the solid waste rates proposed would result in no change to rates for all residential parcels. The fire assessment, moving now onto the fire assessment component. This assessment is permitted per Florida statutes 166.021 and 166.041 and is adopted by Town Ordinance 2001-09. The Ordinance 2001-09 requires that the annual rate be established each year, and the only parcels that are exempted are 10 homesteaded properties owned by disabled U.S. veterans, which in this case will represent $4,481, and that this impact will be absorbed within the general fund. An initial resolution is needed tonight to meet our trim, truth, and millage advertising requirements. The next slide gives you a proposed and 4-year history, which presents it as relatively flat or not very slight increase since 2013 for the residential or vacant agriculture. The next screen is our industrial warehouse, our commercial, which has no change, and institutional, just a 1 cent increase. The next slide will give you a comparison and describe the actual increase. It's $9.11. Agricultural, $5.47 per acre. Industrial warehouse is 0.04. That's 4-cent increase per square foot building area. Institutional has a 1 penny increase per square foot building area, and our commercial has no change per square foot building area. The solid waste, our garbage assessment, this is permitted by Florida Statute Chapters 197.3632. Our annual rate establishment is required by our Town Ordinance 2002-08, and this initial resolution is needed also for to comply with Florida statutes and use in our truth and millage notices, which is distributed by the Broward County Property Appraiser's Office during the month of August. The slide gives us our 6 tranches. That's based on the lot square footage range. You have a comparison between rates, 16-17 versus 15-16. Last column, you will see dashes, which is 0 increases, no change from the prior rates. The solid waste impact, just give you a summary recap from prior years. After 3 years of rate decreases due to changes in collection practices and the disposal recycling contractor, a rate increase of approximately $2,000 was adopted for 15-16 to primarily cover mandated CPI, that's consumer price indexes, and fuel index adjustments. For 2016, no change is proposed to the rate structure, as the contractual mandates, which is primarily the CPI increase, was able to be offset by a substantial reduction in the fuel index. So our contract provided for fuel index adjustments. We've all had the luxury of lower fuel index rates over the past year, and that is passed through to our garbage fee, allowing us to keep stable rates for next year. It is yours in conclusion. It is your town administrator and town financial administrator's recommendation that the Town Council of Southwest Ranches adopt the resolutions presented tonight, setting the rate maximums, which provide for increasing the operating millage, increasing the TISDOR millage, no change or slightly increasing the fire assessment rates to property owners, and finally, providing for no increase in solid waste recycling rates.
Thank you, Marty. Great job as usual. Again, this is required, it's a legal requirement, and again, it just establishes maximum. This is kind of a status quo, and it's kind of a process that we've established for all the years that I can remember. We still have a workshop, a couple of budget hearings, and I know that we'll have a lot of conversation about this and the current status of the town from a financial perspective, and then talking about the millage rate, fire assessment fee, and the garbage, obviously not, because there is no increase there. So we have a motion and a second to approve 10, 11, and 12. With that, I'm going to open it up to the public. Any members of the public wish to comment? Bob?
Yeah, Bob Hartman, 5441 Southwest 198 Terrace. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to listen to all of it, but as usual, my ears tune in when we talk about fire assessment and trash. I'm happy to see trash is staying at the current rate. But when I think I heard it right, we're increasing residential, we're increasing industrial, we're increasing rural or agricultural, but we're not increasing commercial. I mean, if the costs are going up, in my mind, the fair thing would be to distribute those costs, of course, across all of the rate categories, for lack of a better term, or all the different participants. So I'm not sure how all would go up, but the commercial category, that just doesn't make sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Any other members? Newell?
Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. What I see here is some very large puddles this year. And we're listing them under quality of life service improvements, which is a very nebulous term, and that has to be looked at quite in depth. But the town hall exterior painting, we're not in this building that long to have this building painted again. It was painted when we moved in. Why are we painting it again? Are we saying that it was really a garbage job and we got hosed the last time? Okay. Griffin Road, the irrigation system, $43,000. Another pit. Supposedly, we've been banking money from not running the irrigation and taking care of it. At least that's what our town administrator told me when I first brought this to him a couple of years ago. Why isn't West taken care of like East was taken care of? We're banking all of that money. How much have we banked? How much have we saved on this contract that goes to this? Capital improvement projects. Firewells replacement installation, that's got to be the way it is, because that's a necessity. But some of this in the parks that we're doing, we don't have the grants for it, so we're going to float the whole freight? No. All this is doing is make work. If it doesn't have to be done this year and we haven't got a grant for it, let's not do it unless it's required by contract. You know, when things get a little tough, we've always tucked in our belt a notch. I think it's time to tuck our belt in. Can I continue or not?
My suggestion, no, Newell, again, we're just setting the rates.
I'm just for you
but
guys to look at.
I hear you. No, and I hear you. And I'm sure that on the workshop on August the 23rd that you bring all of those issues so that we can talk about them in much more in-depth and detail. And I'm sure that Andy is looking forward to answering those questions as well. Because quite frankly, with regards to a lot of the issues that you're bringing up.
Okay, in closing, the millage rate is way too high that you're setting for the high rate. Way too high.
Again, a workshop scheduled for August 23rd. David?
David Kaczynski, Holity Trail. I got a couple questions here. It's my understanding that there may be a slight budget surplus. Maybe I heard incorrectly, I'm not sure. But my opinion would be to return that money into a reduction in the millage rate, as opposed to, like, we found more money to spend on another project. And with regard to the solid waste, I have been a victim of several missed pickups. I've had to call the current solid waste vendor, and at one time I was cursed out on the phone. He used an F word to me, and it wasn't a funny word. And I would like some kind of restrictions in that contract that if they miss multiple times a pickup, just once, okay, but a couple of times at the same residence, there's got to be a penalty, a hammer clause. So I'd like to ask the council to consider that. Thanks.
Thanks, David. I was going to say that. Yeah, David, that, there is language in the contract that holds them accountable for that with a potential for penalties. So it's already included in that. No, thank you. We appreciate your comments. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns about items 10, 11, or 12? Seeing none, public comment is closed on these items. Council, back to you for final deliberation. Any, again, questions, comments, or concerns? And just a reminder that we're meeting our legal requirements. Again, we're establishing maximums. I've got a lot to think about and a lot to talk about. This just sets a maximum rate. We can bring it down, and I'm sure we'll have conversations about that. And again, we have at least 3 opportunities to talk about this and get any concerns reconciled moving forward with the final budget adoption. And again, the workshop is scheduled approximately 3 weeks and a few days from now, which is August the 23rd. So, Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. You just said it, but I'm going to reiterate it again. Just to caution everybody that's here, everybody that's listening in, that the millage rates that you're hearing tonight are the maximums. We've never gone with the maximum, but according to Florida law and how Broward County runs it, you've got to set these maximums to give yourself the flexibility. And then as we go through the workshops and as we get the final numbers, then we come down to the real number, which is normally significantly lower than this, which has always been significantly lower than this. Bob, I wanted to just comment based on the flat for commercial. We're really tied into, there's a calculation, Marty can speak to this probably better than I can, but it's based on not only how we would like it to be, but it's based on the service and how much of the fire usage each of those categories has taken historically determines how much they're going to be charged in the future. So, so what this means is that we were very close on the estimate for commercial, for industrial, and some of the others, varied more. So that's how that gets set. Once again, Marty, I invite you to.
No, that is correct. There just happened to have been a slight bump up in the number of per square foot building area, which was able to absorb the commercial portion. That's why it didn't have a penny like institutional or 2 pennies. It's because we had a slight increase in the amount of square footage able to spread that divisor over.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that. The other thing was as far as the irrigation system and the budget surplus, kind of putting those together. In prior years, I commend the administration, I commend the financial administration, I commend our entire staff for doing just an amazing job of always, our expenses are below budget, even though the budget is always very lean. And but they do a great job of getting even below that and having a surplus. I hope to see one again this year. We always wait till the end of the year. We don't want to count our chickens before they're hatched, but we hope to see one this year. But we do have an amazing number of projects. We're still a young town. We've not even been around for 20 years. So we've got an amazing list of things that really need to be done in our town. And so I certainly am not one to want to accumulate funds to accumulate funds, but that's not what we do. We really have a list of projects that needs to be addressed. The irrigation out west is one of those that really needs to be done. It was a mess when we got it from Broward County. Should have been new. It was a mess. But that's a longer story that I won't get into, right? But it is what it is. The staff has been looking at it, kind of assessing it, seeing what needs to be done. I'm very anxious to get that operating so that the west side of town looks as good as the east side of town. And so I think this is going to be a big step in that direction. We've been waiting a long time for it. So I'm excited about it, to tell you the truth.
Thank you, Steve. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns, council?
Yeah.
And what, Gary?
Yeah, just to, yeah, Steve, you pretty much aced it all. I don't want to repeat, but you know, it's in terms like that I think of, these are not to exceed numbers. The fine print and the detail we're going to be getting into, you know, throughout the next several weeks, and with staff, with Andy and Marty, and then amongst ourselves, you know, on an individual basis. And I just as a side comment, you know, I'm the guy that wants to knock everything down on Griffin Road and mow it. So, and I've made no secret of that for a very long time. So there's going to be some give and take on some of these funded items, you know, and you know, we'll go from there. But we're not Weston, and you know, I'm the guy that's okay with the grass being this high every now and then. So just want to make that. But these are all not to exceed numbers that we are required by law. I don't want to belabor the point.
Again, yeah, absolutely appreciate those comments. And you know, we had another item on the agenda tonight, and was out just looking at 27. But on my way back in, I got to tell you, what a great job this landscaping crew was doing. It just absolutely beautiful. I will tell you, there's one minor exception. I did notice that coming over the bridge, and that's I know after contacting Andy, telling him how beautiful everything is, it's just wonderful to see what happened over the bridge on the east side. I found out that that's not our responsibility, but everything else, I got to tell you, it looks really, really good. I mean, just doing a heck of a job. Okay, if there aren't any additional questions, comments, or concerns, council will take item number 10. Again, we have a motion and a second to approve. Russell, call the question, please.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. Item number 11, we already have a motion and a second to approve. Any additional questions or comments or concerns, council? Seeing none, Russell, call the question, please.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. And in item number 12, any additional question, comments, or concerns, council? Seeing none, again, we have a motion and a second to approve. Russell, call the question, please.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. Okay, we moved and completed item number 13. Next on the agenda is item number 14. I'll turn that over to, is it
I
you,
believe
Andy?
it's item
Item number 14. I'm
14,
sorry, for
correct.
the record. I apologize, Russell. Item number 14.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, authorizing a purchase order in the amount of $16,800 to Weekly Asphalt Paving, Inc. to complete the Southwest 54th Place and Southwest 207th Terrace drainage improvements, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Russell. Andy?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This is a drainage project that we're able to tie into some of the work that's going on by the charter school and solve a drainage problem that exists out at 54th Place and 207. We're tying into some of the work that was done recently for the school. South Broward Drainage District has been very helpful with us in designing and working with us on this. This is a project that's been before the Drainage Board, and the Drainage Board has endorsed that, and it's a great opportunity for us to get this done now and solve another problem out west.
Thank you, Andy. Council, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Gay?
I sit on the board, so since Bob is, I guess, outside, we really wanted to get this done, and we asked for them to move quickly because it's a very, here we go with the little narrow window, but he needed to either say yay or nay. And if we weren't going to do it, it was going to be a real pain in the butt as far as drainage is concerned, and probably would cost us a fortune to cut into it later on. So the price originally, he said somewhere around, 15, maybe 20, and it came in under that, and we said, go for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gay. Newell?
Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. Seems like a good project, but the other thing is that when they built the road in Pembroke Pines right there, the little drainage canal that was there, They filled in a whole bunch of it, and it's all full of rocks and overgrown and everything else. Is that their responsibility or our responsibility or South Broward Drainage District's responsibility? But they are the Pembroke Pines, when they built the road, dumped all sorts of stuff into it, blocking the flow from north to south. And now, since the culvert is to the C11 has been mudded in, and it all has to flow to the south. So if you have that little drainage connector right there and everything, is that going to take the water from that and move it also, or is it this a separate project? That's a question I have, because that little drainage ditch is really a mess all the way down. And those people that live on the west side of that road are in Southwest Ranches, except for the one property which is in Pembroke Pines. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Come on up and answer that question for us, and we appreciate it very much.
Hello, Mayor and Town Council. Rod Lay, Town Engineer, for the record. To answer Noel's question, we don't have a survey west of that area, so looking at the topography, we'd have to have definitive information to know exactly if it went all the way down from north to south. But the location of that drainage structure will alleviate the homes that can actually drain to that area right now. So yes, there's going to be a flat gate. Anything that drains and collects at that area, which is a lot of water, will be able to go into Franklin Academy system, and it will not be able to go the other way. So I don't know if you need any more specific
Thank you, Rod.
information.
Any other questions? No, we appreciate it, Rod. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay. Again, we have a motion and a second to approve, and you hit the nail right on the head, Gay. Time is of the essence. I don't know if you've been out there lately, but school is, 3.5 weeks away from starting, and they're going to be ready to go. So it's going to be crazy out there, and that's an understatement, quite frankly. Okay, council, any additional questions, comments, concerns on this item? Again, we have a motion and a second to approve. Seeing none, Russ, will you call the question, please?
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, item number 15.
This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving an agreement in the amount of $11,302 with Sound Planning Distributors, Inc. to complete the Council Chambers Technology Improvements Project, authorizing the mayor, town administrator, and town attorney to enter into an agreement and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Russell. Andy?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The timing on this one is actually really good, and I'm kind of happy to be able to tell you what this is and give you a great example. This is a project that we had originally planned for next year. Staff has identified some savings within this year, so we're able to do it, and so we're trying to expedite it and bring it forward to you. And this involves the purchase of 2 LCD projectors, which will be mounted in the ceiling. And our presentations, our night's presentations, when we have one like Marty had tonight, as you can all see on the monitor up there, unless you're probably sitting where Emily is, you really can't read that text. If you're in the audience, it's almost impossible. So what we're going to be doing is adding some projectors that will project the presentations on the back wall, and it'll be 6 to 8 times larger than what you see on the monitor now, so that when you're in the audience and there's a presentation, you'll actually be able to see it without having to go over to the monitors and try to follow along. So we think it's going to be very friendly certainly for the residents who are here. The monitors the existing monitors will stay where they are. We'll turn the angle of those towards council so that you'll be able to see that clearly, but the audience will be able to see the presentations on the wall and actually be able to follow along. So we're actually excited to bring this improvement to council chambers. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Andy. All right, council. Again.
We have a motion. Is there a motion?
I
don't think, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? See no public comment. Public comment is now closed. If there are any additional questions, comments, or concerns, council, Russell, call the question, please.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, and again, we want to, Andy has asked me to walk this item on as the last item on the agenda, and again, because the negotiations are ongoing, essentially what this does, it extends the negotiating period for fire protection, emergency medical services in the town of Southwest Ranches up until November the 1st. But for the record, if you would read the resolution, Russell.
Certainly, Mayor. A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving the Second Amendment to the agreement between the Town of Southwest Ranches and the Town of Davie for delivery of emergency medical, fire protection, and fire prevention services, to amend the contract to allow for additional time for the parties to discuss an additional contract term, directing the appropriate town officials to execute the second modification to the agreement and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Russell. Again, this is just to extend the negotiation period.
Mayor, just one correction. The version before you was the one that the town staff asked Davy for, which was to give to a December extension date.
Okay.
Davy came back and said November 1. So as a result, Russell's version that he has from a day ago is changed to November 1. So if you could just note that for the record, that it would be an extension to November 1.
Okay, from December 31st to November 1st. Gotcha. Council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Any additional questions or comments, council? Seeing none. Again, motion and second to approve. Russell, call the question, please.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Brighters?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, that concludes our agenda items. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We got a motion to adjourn. I'm sure that's unanimous. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Always a pleasure to see you.